Pretentious sunglasses. Hey everybody, how's it going? So today we're going to be working on fixing a MacBook that is not working properly. I look forward to showing you all what's wrong with this MacBook, and I look forward to making it work again with all of you. So this here is a machine that appears to be not turning on. This is an A1707 model MacBook. This is one of the 15-inch models from either 2016 or 2017. We're going to work on this together, and we are going to figure out what's wrong with it and then fix it. There are a few announcements I'd like to make before we begin today's video. The first announcement that I'd like to make is a sincere thank you to Jesse Cruz for the work that he has been doing on the wiki. So as you know, one of the projects that I had, one of the small projects for Repair Preservation Group, was to make available as much info as humanly possible on how to fix things the same way that I have on this channel. And I've posted a lot on how to fix MacBook motherboards to this particular wiki. You can find on repair.wiki, there's all sorts of guides on how to figure out and repair all sorts of common failures. Well, look at what he's posted for the iPhone 7. Look at the degree of troubleshooting information that Jesse Cruz has posted for the iPhone 7. Look at this. So you have the symptom on the left and the possible issue and repair on the right. Look at how detailed this is. Look at the amount of work that he has put in to really show you exactly how to fix many different problems on an iPhone 7. This is insane. The degree of accuracy, the degree of detail for many, many different problems. This is beautiful. This is exactly what I'm looking for. And if you're someone who wants to do this for other types of electronics, do me a favor. Don't ask me if you can post an article. Just post an article. Don't ask if you can. Because if you don't do it. Don't ask me. Post an article. And if you want to talk about an item that is really, really popular that a lot of people are having issues with, and you want to work out an agreement for compensation because this is a really, really popular item that's really in demand that a lot of people want to know how to repair, reach out to me, Lewis@fight2repair.org. That's Lewis@fight2repair.org. And I want to say thank you very much to Jesse Cruz for being one of the very, 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 very few people that actually responded to me when I was emailing and trying to get people to contribute to this. And I do hope that we can continue to get people to contribute to things like this. The next thing that I wanted to announce is a thank you. It's a thank you to Catherine Hauserman. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name. I butcher everybody's names evenly on this channel. She is a longtime viewer of the channel who really fixed a lot of the formatting in my beginner's guide. So in any of my board repair videos, you can see that I have a guide under those videos. It is a link to a training guide, and it has about 150 plus slides that go over a lot of how to do repairs on MacBooks. It goes over a lot of basic electronics stuff, and I really, really, really tried to make this Piece of shit. Okay. I'm going to redo what I was just talking about there because my audio went out. I thought those batteries were more charged than they were, so I'm just going to restart that. The second thank you that I'd like to shout out is to Catherine Hauserman. She's been watching the stream for probably 4 or 5 years now, and just a very kind person in the chat. She went over this Rossmann repair training document that I provide. If you look in the description of any of my board repair videos, any of them at all, you will see that there are links to guides, and one of them is this guide over here that really tries to explain in a very, very kindergarten-like way basic electronics. So for instance, how does a resistor fail? Like there. How does a capacitor, here's a capacitor, here's it letting AC through, here's it blocking DC. Like just really, really, really basic, super hyper basic things that I'm going over here. Or let's say how a DC to DC boost circuit works. I actually show you with little pictures how it works at each point in the circuit. We go over like current sensing circuits, we go over the one-wire circuit, there's all different things that we go over in this. It's about 150 pages, and she actually took the time to go through this and fix a lot of the formatting in this so that the formatting made a little bit more sense, and that was a really, really great thing. Again, a lot of this is still kind of funky looking because you could tell I made a lot of this in Microsoft Paint, but I have I'm trying to go over just some basics to try to get people to understand what I'm talking about, and it's kind of like a kindergartenish set of slides. But she really went over this and fixed a lot of the formatting to make it look better. So I just want to say thank you very much to Catherine for her hard work in making this document look better. You can see over here, like I go over how the ISL 6259 circuit works, and I go over this in order of what happens. Like it kind of goes over a lot of the basics necessary to kind of understand basic electronics. Well, how is a cap going to fail? How is a resistor going to fail? All that kind of, and I really appreciate her taking the time to do that. So that being said, we are going to go on to today's board repair. There's actually one piece that's missing in here. I think I had how a cap fails, and that card appears to be gone. So I got to figure out what happened to that. Actually, never mind. Here we go. So yeah, like here's how, like this is a cap blocking DC, and this is a cap POW. Yeah, so yeah, it's supposed to be a non-intimidating way to introduce people to electronics repair without talking about formulas and coulombs and joules and all that kind of stuff. So let's get on to the video topic over here. Let's get on to what's wrong with this thing. So this is an A1707 MacBook. Now the first problem let's see if you could see what the first problem is with this. I'm not sure if this is going to be high enough resolution. I had to lower the bit rate because Restream cries when you stream at a high bit rate and it lags like crazy, so I had to stop doing that. But I'm kind of curious, can any of you see where the issue is in this computer? Can any of you see something that just absolutely makes me want to scream? I want to see if you can tell where it is. There's something in here that's absolutely beyond horrible that you should be able to see immediately. So full screen the video for a moment. Actually, you should be able to see this if you full screen the video. Okay? I just checked on my screen. The ribbon for the battery is unplugged. No, that was something that we got started doing when we took in the machine. Let's see if you can see. I want to see how good your eyesight is, because one of the important things when it comes to doing this job, a lot of it is going to be down to your eyesight to be able to see problems more so than being a genius that intuitively knows this is the bad chip because of diode mode reading, blah, blah, blah. Does anybody know? Can anybody see it? I'm going to zoom a little bit more. We're going to get a little bit more zoom until you guys see the problem. Okay, so there we are at full zoom. I think that you should be able to see what the problem is at this point in time. Let's see if anybody understands or gets it yet. While you guys are looking for where the problem is, I am going to take the rest of the screws out of the machine. Polyardo, that doesn't tell me. No. See, saying it's broken or there's a short or any of that, you got to tell me what it is. That's being overly general. You haven't given me an answer. Loose chip, you're asking a question. You're not telling me. No. Can anybody tell me what's wrong? It's in the frame over here. I've fully zoomed in and I upped the bit rate. Screw in the connector. Daniel Oliveira wins. This is not where a screw goes. This is not where the screw goes. So what is this connector for over here that has a screw in it? A little piece of metal that's going to short all the pins together. We are going to visit and see what that is in the schematic and the board view. So I'm going to open up a schematic for an 820-00928 board as well as a board view, and we are going to see what that connector is for. That's not very nice to put a screw in there because you're going to short everything together. So that's J6100, J6100. So what is J6100? That is a connector for, well, what do you have here? You have a main power rail, PP3V3_G3 hot. You have ground, you have SMC reset L, so you could be shorting SMC reset L to ground. You could be sending 3.3 volts into any one of these BIOS lines, so SPI ROM. So what this is doing is this is connecting to our BIOS chip. This is going to be connecting to our BIOS chip over here, or SPI ROM chip if you want to be hoity-toity about it. I know some people like to be hoity-toity and go, Lewis, that's not a PC. That is a MacBook, and on a MacBook it is called the SPI ROM. Why are you mistaking it? I thought I was missing the top button on my polo shirt that I use for my hoity-toity personality. Like the guy yesterday that said, Lewis, the circuit does not ask for electricity, it is supplied. If you want to be a truly pedantic schmuck, you would call it an SPI ROM chip instead of BIOS. But I prefer BIOS chip because I call it that. You can... So this is going to be communication with the BIOS chip, and you kind of need that for anything to get started and work. Now, I don't think you would have killed anything because the data lines for this SPI ROM chip are going to be based on 3.3 volts, and the highest voltage present at this connector is going to be 3.3 volts because that's what PP3V3_G3 hot is. Even if you send PP3V3_G3 hot into SMC reset L, which would reset the SMC, you must understand that that SMC_reset L is going to be pulled up by I imagine it's going to be pulled up to 3.3 volts at some point on the board. So some point on the board, you're usually going to see a pull-up resistor. This is kind of being a troll here and not showing it. Anyway, so on the older machines, SMC reset L would be pulled up to 3.3 volts by PP3V42_G3 hot. I remember that from the good old days. So let's see if we get any difference in behavior. Let's see if the machine works once we've pulled out that screw. And again, how that screw got in there, who the hell knows? So I unplugged the battery, as always, because I want to see how much power the board is taking by itself. I'm not interested in how much power it's using to charge the battery or anything. I want to diagnose the board. The amount of power that it sends to the battery is going to be variable. It's going to be variable based on how charged the battery is. So that's not going to give me any sort of static reading that I can understand. Now, the problem that was discussed with this computer is that it was stuck at 5 volts, 0 amps. And as you can see now, it is turning on, the fans are spinning, and most likely I am going to have a picture on the screen. I may not immediately because I had the device closed, so it's going to think that it is closed and not working. But yeah, you can see there's an Apple logo there. The backlight is off, obviously, because I had the computer closed for a short period while it was on the desk, so I'll just reboot it at some point and you will be able to see that so the reason that this was not working is because somebody shoved a screw into a connector which did not allow BIOS communication and/or may have been shorting SMC reset L to ground inside of the connector. A connector is not a screw hole. I repeat, a connector is not a screw hole. A connector is a connector and a screw hole is a screw hole. Why is there a board repair stream on my New York real estate channel? Oh, man. Yeah, those are fun. I got a good number of comments yesterday going, you're going to have your subscribers go down, Lewis, because you're talking about all these other things that have nothing to do with board repair, which is why people are here. And it's like, you realize people are here in spite of board repair, right? Like Eli the computer guy talks about this a lot, which is that everybody lies. He kind of sounds like House with this. Everybody lies to you. And it is kind of true. I have this thing called analytics, and I can click on any one of my videos, and I can actually see if it was a net positive for subscribers or a net negative. And board repair videos almost universally are a net negative for subscribers. So when I post them, the analytics will show that I lose subscribers when I fix a motherboard. Like, I shit you not. It is negative subscribers when I fix a board. And if I post too many board repair videos in a row, the channel will lose hundreds or up to 1,000 subscribers in a period of time. It's hysterical. But so this here, as you can see, is now giving me an Apple logo and working. So the lesson to be learned from this video would be, please can you tell the difference between a screw hole and a connector? There's a difference between a screw hole and a connector. When you put a screw hole into a connector, the screw is then going to short together the pins, which would keep BIOS communication from working, which would keep the device from working altogether. Now, obviously, I'd like to have someone, do a full test, call them up, say, hey, did you spill anything on this? Why did you put a screw in there? Because them putting a screw in there means they were trying to reassemble it. If they're trying to reassemble it, that means they were taking it apart. If they were taking it apart, that means there was a reason they were taking it apart. And I want to know what the reason they were taking it apart was. They weren't taking it apart because it was stuck at 5 volts and drawing 0 amps. It was stuck at 5 volts and drawing 0 amps as a result of the BIOS chip not working, as a result of SMC reset L being held down by a screw being in the connector. They were taking it apart for a different reason. And I need to figure out what that other reason is, because if I deliver them the computer back like this, it's still going to have some other problem that they have not told me about, because they've only told me about problem number 1, but I need to know why they opened it to put the screw in there. The issue may be them telling me, I didn't put that screw in there, at which case I wash my hands with it. I'm not able to help them. So if I call them up and they say that they put a screw in, and I explain this, and they go, oh yeah, I must have screwed up and put the screw in there while I was reassembling it to try to fix X problem, I can try to fix X problem and I can help them. If I call them up and they say, I never put a screw in there, and this has never been opened by anybody else, at that point, I invoice for return shipping and send it back, because I cannot help you if you don't tell me the truth. So we are going to move on to the next one. Hopefully you learned something here, which is do not put a screw into a connector. And again, thank you very much to Jesse Cruz for his contributions to the wiki. Thank you very much to Catherine Hauserman. And if you want to contribute to the wiki, don't ask me. Don't ask, Lewis, can I contribute something about this? Can I contribute something about Dell? Can I contribute something about Acer? Can I contribute something about a microwave? Can I contribute something about a car? Don't ask. Don't ask me. Don't ask. Just post the article. If even 0.1% of the people that I have asked me, can I post this type of article, who I've responded yes to, actually posted an article, that wiki would be the size of a 42-volume encyclopedia by now. I am more than happy to contribute all of the information that I have, and I encourage people here to contribute to an internal Slack channel that I then post to the wiki, so that we can have as many answers for MacBook board repairs as humanly possible. I want to have as many answers for MacBook board repairs as humanly possible. I will contribute what I can contribute. If you contribute what you can contribute, then at the end of the day, at some point, one of us is going to have a repair that we need to do that we don't have an answer for, and we are going to be able to go here and get an answer. So in the short run, it's going to take a little bit of time for you to contribute solutions that you have. But in the long run, if we all post to this on a regular basis, it will be easier for us all to collectively do our jobs. It will be easier for end users to be able to perform repairs that they otherwise would have thought impossible. It kind of, a rising tide lifts all boats. So I'm trying to get trying to start raising, pulling up the tide a little bit, and then I'm hoping that I can get other people to come along with me with these ideas. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now. Cut. All right, next video. Next video. I'll label this one. Could you explain in detail why it is not possible to remember the capacitance of a capacitor within a circuit with normal multimeters but with ESR meters? That requires someone with a brain. You need to ask someone that has a brain. That ain't, I ain't it. I ain't it. Next. Page 19. Damn it. Oh, G3. Page 19. G3. So what is that?
A. It's for recovery.
Oh, that's... Hey everybody, how's it going? So today we're going to get to work on an A1708 that's not powering on, and I have my doubts that this one is going to be as easy as the other one that we just did, where there was a screw that was plugged into a connector. So the first thing that we always do in troubleshooting these devices that are not turning on is we unplug the battery and check out how much power the board is drawing by itself. Checking the amount of power that the board is drawing is very similar to checking somebody's heart rate on screen, or like getting their EKG. It gives you a general, it's not going to tell you everything, but it's going to give you a general idea of what is going on. Now, if you're going to take somebody's heart rate to see what's going on, you don't want to take their heart rate while they're on a treadmill. You don't want to do that test while you're probably going to tell what their pulse is or what their blood pressure is while they're sitting and resting. And I want to do the same thing here. I don't want to see how much power the board is drawing while it's charging the battery, because charging the battery is going to take a different amount of amperage depending on how far charged the battery is. So that's kind of a moving target. I want to see how much power the board is taking by itself without any excess stuff that's going to pull a lot of power connected to it. So what I did over here is I just unplugged the battery, and we're going to use a USB-C amp meter that you can get on store.rossmanngroup.com, and we're going to plug it in and see what we get. And as you can see, one charge port actually doesn't respond at all. Nothing in that charge port. And now we're going to see what we get in the other charge port. So let's just plug it into that charge port and we will see what we get. Nothing in either charge port. Okay, that's particularly strange. I'm going to unplug the charger from my desk and plug it back in. I just got scared because I touched a magnet and it made a loud noise. That was the sissiest thing I've done in a long time. Okay, so no response there. So I'm going to take the board out. I'm going to see maybe if there's some dirt in that charge port of some sort and see why it is that I'm not even getting a response. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that my charger didn't blow up or something by plugging it into this Samsung S10e phone that I have, just to see if it gives me a reading here. And as you can see, when I plug it into my Samsung phone, it jumps up to 9 volts and 0.5 amps, so it's trying to fast charge, which it's not actually doing because it's only charging at 300 milliamps. But you get the idea. Not only is this charger working, but it's also able to differentiate whether or not to charge at 5 volts or 9 volts. So it is not an issue with my charger, nor with my amp meter. So we're going to take the board out of the case and see what it looks like on the other side of the case. And we're going to go from there. Again, I just wanted to say 2 announcements similar to the last video. A, thank you very much to Jesse Cruz for contributing to Repair.wiki. Look at all this stuff that you have over here for iPhone troubleshooting. Just for the iPhone 7, he posted all of this. This is insanely detailed troubleshooting here at Repair.wiki, and I hope to be able to get more of it. And also thank you to Catherine for fixing the formatting in this little document that I created. This is the document that I have at the description of all of my board repair videos. I have this little document, and it's really kind of a kindergarten-ish introduction to electronics repair. So for instance, here's a buck converter, and what I did is I put pictures on the schematic that show you a visual representation of how you take 8 volts and turn it into 1 volt. I give you a visual representation of how a DC to DC boost circuit works, and it really just kind of goes over a lot of basics, like for instance, how is PP-Bus G3 hot created? It does all this, and she went through my document and she fixed a lot of the formatting, and I just wanted to say thank you very much for the effort and time that she put in to do that, and thank you very much for the effort and time put in by Jesse Cruz to contribute to Repair.wiki. If you're interested in contributing to Repair.wiki, just do me one favor. I got one favor to ask. Don't ask me if you can contribute. Just contribute. Just make an article. Do you cover alarm clocks? Don't ask. Just post it. What about a moto phone? Don't ask. Just post it. Don't ask. Just post it. Don't ask. Just post it. And if it's if you have a degree of information that is this detailed for a device that is this in demand, and it's not, if it's something that's going to take you like 7 or 8 or 50 hours to post, but you think it's really valuable because it's for a device that is very, very popular, contact me and we can work something out regarding compensation. This is a nonprofit, so there is a limit to what I'm able to provide, but I am going to try to I really do want to motivate people who are best in their craft to contribute as much to this as humanly possible. You can see that we've been contributing as much MacBook information as we can for MacBooks over here based on what we do here at the store. You can see there's just a lot of stuff, incredibly detailed, and my goal is to make what we do here more accessible to all people. So we are going to continue on here. I'm done with my shilling for the wiki, and with that shilling being done, we are going to get on to the board repair. We'd likely be I'd probably be better off shilling Audible or Raycons or something, but I like my little wiki. I want to shill my wiki. I have a dream. I have a dream of the people that get into doing this, and also people that want to fix their stuff, having an easier time and a better time going through it than I did when I started. I have a dream of not being in an industry where people think that sharing information means the demise and death of their ability to provide for their families, where people are actually open to sharing what it is that makes a repair doable so that maybe it could be more accessible to more people. And I want the next generation of technicians that enter this business to enter a business that actually shares information, that where best practices and ideas on how to do things are out there in the open rather than hidden behind closed doors, because if it's the only way that you're going to make $1 is if all these solutions and ideas are hidden. I want to grow the pie. I want to get the next generation of people that get into this business to think about growing the pie rather than just grabbing the largest amount of the pie they can for themselves. There's so many items out there that need to be fixed, and there's so many consumers that have no idea that independent repair is an option. That we just keep pushing forward and getting more people to realize that independent repair is an option. There's more than enough business for everybody. What we lack are people that know how to do all of these types of advanced jobs. It takes too long. It takes far too much time to learn how to do a lot of these things to be able to for any one shop to be able to have every single solution. And some of the solutions in that wiki are solutions that it may have taken someone 30 or 40 or 80 or 100 hours to finally figure out. Once you finally figure it out, it's a 15-minute repair. But it's a 15-minute repair once you've gone through the process of banging your head against the wall for 40 hours. And the more that we can share, what I'm hoping is that you won't have to go through a 40-hour nightmare just to figure out if something is fixable, which means you'll be able to say yes to more repairs that you would otherwise said no to, which means that you'll be able to satisfy more customers. And the more satisfied customers there are out there, the more people that see repair in a favorable light, the more people that see repair in a favorable light, the higher likelihood of right to repair moving forward. So it's all part of the big picture to get more people involved, more people to be able to have more knowledge and confidence to be able to do what they didn't know how to do before. Okay, so we're just going to take a look at this charge port over here and see if anything looks funny about it, because this charge port is not responding to my charger at all. And as you can see, when we look at it, there's nothing really looking funny there. It doesn't look corroded or nasty in any way now, does it? So I'm just going to give it a little bit of a clean with this alcohol and an ESD safe Apple certified Q-tip that I got from the store. This is an Apple certified Q-tip right here. Look at that. Okay. Oh my God. What the? What are you doing? What are you? Get out of here. GTFO. What? What is this, a freaking Paul Daniels stream? This shit is only supposed to happen in Australia. Look, he's hiding under the fucking heatsink bolt. I see you, you mofo. Get out of here. GTFO. Bro. He's hiding. Look at him. He's making me flip the board back and forth. Get the fuck off of my desk. Okay, let's inspect the specimen. This should give us an idea of why it is that we were stuck and at this machine not activating my USB-C charger or amp meter. So let's see if we can get an idea. So I didn't crush him, I just mildly tapped him to get him on this piece of tape over here so that we could inspect him. Maybe it'll give us some hints as to what's going on. So we're going to study the specimen. So this appears to be a part of the problem with this computer. Yes. Look at him, he's playing dead. Come on, shorted DC end cap. No, you know it's going to be a shorted... It's going to be the charge port itself is shorted or has a hole in it. I barely tapped you. You're playing dead. There's no way you're actually dead. Come on. Are you actually... You can't possibly be dead. I barely tapped you. Oh, well. Anyway. So, let's just take a look around the device for a quick moment. We're going to take him and move him out of the way. GTFO. So we're going to figure out what the F happened to this particular MacBook. Let's just take a look around and see what we see. I'm also going to take the little rubber piece that goes around the heatsink and I'm going to put it with the machine so it doesn't get lost. Paul loves those little rubbers. Okay, so we're going to take a little tour around the machine. First thing we're going to do is we're going to adjust the white balance on the camera. I probably do have to clean the lenses and everything inside this microscope at some point because there's a little smudge on the screen and it's driving me nuts, but I don't know at what point in the microscope camera setup it is, and this thing is like 7 years old, so it really does need to get cleaned. Okay, so I see a little green over there, but never mind, this is like a piece of glitter. It's an 820-00875. Now we have corrosion right by one of the CPU MOSFETs, and as you may remember from yesterday's stream, that's not very good. This is most likely going to indicate that 12 volts went to the CPU, and if you're unaware of how that kills boards, you might want to check the video that I posted to the channel just about 2 days ago to get a greater understanding of how a buck converter works, how a buck converter fails, and how that will kill one of these boards, whereas it wouldn't kill one of the older Core 2 Duo machines. We're going to continue navigating around the board, and we're just looking for anything that looks out of place. Anything that looks out of place or suspicious in any way, and see what it is that we find. So I don't see anything here that looks really out of place. Again, you got a little bit of funky looking dust over there, but no big deal. And really, I'm looking for something that's going to be related to the fact that the charger doesn't turn on. Now, that was not initially part of the problem that was included in the ticket. The ticket says that the S5 rails were pulsing, and I find it hard to believe that the S5 rails are doing anything before we can even get a charger to work. So now that the bug is off the board, I'm just kind of curious if that allows the charger to work where it did not work before. And if that doesn't work, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to look and see if there's a short on the DCN. Okay, so now the charger is working. So what we did to fix the charging problem is we removed the bug from the board. So the bug being on the board screwed everything up. The next thing we need to do before we get started testing everything else, again, I really don't want to be messing with this while there is corrosion in this area. So we are going to immediately replace this. I don't want to risk that this is dead. By this, I mean this over here. I forgot to change cameras. My apologies for that. And once we replace that, we will get on to doing the other work that needs to be done on this machine, but I really just don't feel comfortable leaving that on the board, knowing that it was corroded, knowing that there could be a chance that this is going to cause my CPU to get spikes of 12 volts, so we are going to remove that before we work on everything else. We are going to be focusing on the root cause of the issue and what they discussed, but before we do that, I just want to address this because this is a more serious problem, and it will, if it's not addressed right now. So we are going to find the chip on the schematic in the board view, which you can see on screen in Paul Daniels' software called Flex Board View. Paul Daniels' software is an amazing piece of software that always does what it's supposed to. And we are also going to replace, as you remember from yesterday, we're not just going to replace this chip, we're also going to replace the buck converter controller chip that it is being controlled by, just because when these get liquid damage, one tends to kill the other, and it kind of creates this cascading failure where, you know, chip A dies. When chip A dies, it kills chip B. So you replace chip A, but then chip B is dead, and chip B being dead winds up killing the new chip A that you put on the board, and it just winds up being a whole hell of misery. So first thing we're going to do before we do anything else on here is address the immediate problem. Now, I see corrosion by a MOSFET in a buck converter that's going to a CPU. That's the first thing that we are going to get off of the board. I can't trust it. Sometimes things that are mildly corroded can be touched up, but this is just not something I want to trust, because this is going to be providing power to the most expensive chip on the board. That is also one of the most vulnerable chips on the board. Alrighty. Now, one of my trademarks is using a little bit too much solder on the center pad. I'm aware. And you will see how we deal with that momentarily. It is not a big deal, and it will look like factory when we're done. I'm just going to take my chip off of a donor board. One thing I often do is I keep my donor board outside the microscope, and I keep the board I'm placing the chip on in the microscope. The reason I do this is I don't need accuracy to rip something off of a donor board, but I do need accuracy to place something back. Now, if you're removing a chip this big, admittedly, you may not have to worry about as much. But when you're removing a chip that's really small, you really don't want to be moving the board back and forth with your right hand and trying to hold the chip in your tweezers with your left, because eventually what's going to happen is the chip is going to wind up coming off of the board. So what I'm going to do here, and you're going to see this is going to look like factory, even though my hand looks like this, is the surface tension is going to pull the chip where it wants to go. It's going to be exactly where it wants to go. But it's going to be too high on the board. So once it's soldered on there, what I do, see how it floats itself into place? I'm going to tap on the top of it, push it down. And then I pull my hot air away, and it doesn't matter how much my hand is shaking, because I'm pushing down. So if I'm pushing down, I'm pushing the chip onto the board. When I'm pushing the chip onto the board, I don't need to worry about shaking, because it doesn't matter if I'm moving left to the right. It doesn't matter if I'm moving left to right, as long as my hand is pushing down. That is going to save me there. So as you can see, the chip is perfectly in place, and when I show you around the board, it's going to look completely even to the chips that were placed on the board at the factory. Even though my hand is, I'm probably one of the least suited people to be doing this type of micro soldering work on planet Earth. But you'll notice that it actually does not look different than the other ones after minor adjusting. That is the magic of surface tension. I hear so many people say, my hand is unsteady, so I can't do this type of work. I'd love to do what you do, but my hand isn't steady like yours. And it's like, bullshit. Whose videos are you watching if you think my hands are steady? And you'll see that little cap that I moved under there. Also, notice this thing on the cap. You'll see that there is what looks like a Hershey's Kiss. You see this over here where it looks like the top of a Hershey's Kiss on the cap? It's sticking out. That means that soldering was done with not enough flux available. So when you put flux, you don't want to leave a joint like that. That's very, very bad. So what I do is I use a little bit of hot air and a little bit of flux, and that's just going to naturally get flown into place where it naturally wants to be. And you'll see that happen when I use the hot air. I'm going to just slowly preheat the board a little bit. And with that flux there, just watch and wait and see what happens to the capacitor once I tap it. It is going to be absolutely beautiful. And look at that. Give it a little tap in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, I didn't even have to tap it. Look at that. Now, when you take a look at this chip over here, and you take a look at the one on top of it, aligned, aligned, aligned. I mean, does that look like someone whose hand does this? Soldered it? Not really. And again, at the end of the day, what you're looking for is technique. Technique is going to be more important than your ability to have a steady hand. It's going to be you're going to come up with your own little compensations in order to get around not being the best at something. You don't have to be the best or perfect at doing something the exact way that you're told by an instructor in order to be able to do the job as well as the instructor, or even someday pass up the instructor at his own game. But you're going to have to come up with your own way to do things, and you're going to come up with your own way to do things if you're willing to put in a little bit of effort. You want to put in a little bit of effort and put in some time to learn how to do shit that is kind of a pain in the ass. So we're just going to take the edge bonding off of this. We're going to replace you. Remember, I want to replace the two pieces in the buck converter with teamwork. You know, all at once. I don't want to just replace one without replacing the other in case it killed something. So, just going to replace you and you. This is from experience. This is not something that's written in a book, like you must do this after this. This is, when you spend 3 hours chasing the same fault and you learn what it was, it's one of those things where it sticks in your head and you'll never do it again. So that's why I'm doing this. Now, as Paul S. has told me, who works here, one of the chief technicians, that 80 to 90% of the time that you have corrosion on that MOSFET, your CPU is dead and there's no point in continuing. Yet, almost every time, both him and I still have this ridiculous, stupid, dumb, blind hope that this is going to be the time that it's different. This is going to be the time that everything is different than last time, even though everything else is the same. It's a blind hope, and I can't explain why we have blind hope in such a way, but we do. What books or courses do you recommend for beginners? I recommend what's in the description of the YouTube videos, the Basic Electronics Guide. It's free. I wrote it specifically for beginners. It's looks like kindergarten. I haven't edited it in Twitch yet because Twitch has this weird panel formatting thing, and I honestly never put time into it because Twitch is... Yeah, so... But you can check that out. It's a really, really nice little document. And it's really not it's not there to teach you advanced theory. It's really there to get your confidence up that you can understand some absolute basics that are if you don't have any electronics knowledge or experience, so that you could get started doing this type of troubleshooting. This tip that I'm using here kind of sucks, but all of my good tips have been taken, stolen, and bamboozled. Yeah, as you can see, this barely can't even tin the tips here. How do you ever get started with MacBook repairs? You get started by starting. How do you get the replacement parts? Haha! Dumpster diving, donor boards. So I get these donor boards off of AliExpress that I use. When you say parts, there's all different types of parts, and I don't you got to be specific. Like if you say how do I get chips, I can tell you donor boards, Mouser and Newark, store.rossmanngroup.com. If you mean screens, well, what model computer? Because some of them I can't get screens for even. There's many ways to answer that question, depending on how do you get started fixing shit? I mean, you start. Like, do you want to do it or not? If you want to do it, you'll find a way. You'll buy, you could buy computers that are broken, or you can find machines that have been recycled, and you can make it your project to try and work on them on the weekend. Look through all these videos and try to figure stuff out. There's tons of different... I would recommend again, the problem is if you go to eBay, you're going to find a lot of machines that other people have messed with that are completely unfixable. Like absolutely unfixable garbage. So they put it on eBay because it's unfixable garbage that has no hope. Because if it had hope, they would have fixed it themselves. So it's really difficult to find a place to get that type of stuff. That's a challenge. That's a journey. So yeah, what I do is you used to be able to go to AliExpress or Alibaba or just random suppliers and find these donor boards that are cut like this. You used to be able to get these for like $12, and the cost has gone up tremendously. Again, one of the only things that has not seen inflation in the past few years is cheese, which the White House Twitter account is very happy about. But admittedly, a lot of it is that a lot of people have been watching these videos and getting into the craft, which kind of has driven the price up of many of these more scarce items. But you have these boards that have giant holes in them with the RAM and the SSD and the CPU taken off of them. But it has the rest of the components on it that are needed. So you have a nice little palette here of everything that goes on this particular computer. Now, the whole concept of troubleshooting by ordering chips one by one, that sucks. If you need to troubleshoot, if you want to figure, okay, is this chip the cause of my problem, and you have to wait a week for it to show up, it will take you 2 years to fix a board at that rate. If you say, I'm going to buy every single chip and resistor that goes in this board, that's also insane. Having donor boards is a sensible way to be able to quickly troubleshoot a product that you're working on in an economically viable way. And then once you figure out that you're constantly using a particular chip or device or a chipset or a resistor, then you could buy a bunch of them. But having a donor board makes things a lot easier. So watch this. See how the chip is going to get drawn into place via surface tension? Look at that. I'm just going to give it a quick tap, and now watch. When I tap it, see that? How it kind of like criddles back into place? That's surface tension. Now, I'm going to wait for the solder to dry. Once the solder is dry, what I'm going to do is I'm going to push down on the top of the chip to make sure that the chip is flat on the board, because I want the chip to be flat on the board so everything connects on the sides perfectly. So now, as you can see, I have a shaky hand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push down. Now, even though my hand is still shaking, since I'm pushing down, I'm not going to be moving the chip to the left, right, forwards, backwards. I'm just pushing down. There's going to be solder that comes out the sides because that's the excess solder from putting imperfect amounts on the middle pad. I don't estimate exactly how much solder has to go on the middle pad. I just do that. And again, this is really helpful if you don't have great motor control or motor skills and you're not able to keep your hand steady and you really I try to look for ways. Instead of saying that you need to be perfect at hand control in order to do this job, what I like to do here is I like to give people ways that you can be horrible at something, yet still excel and do work that looks, again, similar to what would have come out of the factory, if not better. And that's what we're aiming for here. And as you can see, this chip is on there. It is perfectly placed. This would not have been placed better by a pick and place machine. It is, if you had a little square around this chip, which most other PC boards do have, except for Apple, because Apple, you would see that was placed perfectly in there. It's not off center. It's not crooked. It is perfect, and the joints over there are going to look nice as well. So this is on there very nicely. And what we are going to do here is now we're going to try and figure out the rest of what was going on with this device. So the notes said that the S5 rails were pulsing. So we're going to go over what S5 rails are, what these power rails are in general. I'm just going to wash a little bit of the flux off my hand because I got some flux on my hand and I wasn't wearing gloves because I was too lazy to put on gloves, which I regret at this point. And then we are going to get on to the power rail section, and also how we can troubleshoot and figure out why S5 rails are pulsing, if they are pulsing, and try to get to the bottom of it. So let's do that. So we're going to plug in our power supply, our little charger over here. I think you said a while ago along the lines of the best way of getting started with something is to start doing it. It is so obvious but also profound. Inspired me to work on my cars. Thanks, Lou. Yeah, I find that a lot of people, and myself included, like, when I'm asking how do I start doing something, I'm really asking, like, I know, you know what to do. I mean, if you really want to figure something out, you know exactly what you have to do to get started. Just most people don't want to fucking do it because it's hard and it's miserable, and I understand. It is. Like, to just kind of bumble around for long periods of time trying to figure something out sucks, but that's really the best way to get started. You get started by starting. How do you fix something? Well, learn. Well, start fixing it. Well, I don't know how to. Well, why don't you know how? Because I don't know how to open it. Okay, well, now you know what you have to do. You have to figure out how to open it. Okay, but what about the rest? Well, what's the rest? I need to know how to take the board out of the case. Okay, well, now you know what you have to do. You have to figure out how to take the board out of the case. Okay, once I have the board out of the case, I don't know what to do with the board. Okay, well, now you got to learn board level troubleshooting. What do you need to know? What do you need to learn to know that? What you do is each time you tell yourself why you can't do something, what you're doing is you're creating a little curriculum for yourself in your brain as to what it is you need to do. Now, you may not want to do those things. You may not think you're capable of doing those things, but at the very least, at that point, you know what it is you need to do. Love your stuff and work and not repair. Support a right to repair through you for a while. Thank you very much. I highly appreciate that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to try and figure out what is... Oh, look at that. It's taking 500 milliamps. Whoa. Okay. Okay, that's cool. So it doesn't look like we have pulsing anymore. Now it is down at 265 milliamps, which worries me because this machine typically does not take a static 263 milliamps. And remember what I said yesterday, when there's a static amperage draw, that typically tends to point to a dead CPU. It would really suck if this was another dead fucking CPU. Yeah, I'm not in the mood for that at this point in time. But that definitely does not point to pulsing S5 rails. That points to... Oh, come on. Not another one. I don't want another dead CPU. Oh, that is so sad. Oh, that is so sad. This is what it must feel like to be Paul, I swear. Being Paul and working at the store just means seeing dead CPU board after dead CPU board over and over and over again until you just want to cry. Like, when you look at Paul's queue for the longest period of time, I don't know what it's like now because I haven't been checking in on it as much, but back in the day, it was just non-stop. Just every other machine, dead CPU. And it really does get to you after a while because it makes you feel like it's just pointless. It's painful. It's hurtful. Hey, it's hurtful. Who knows? Maybe this one will be different. Just one more try. Just one more try. Maybe this piece of New York real estate won't be overpriced. Maybe communism will work this time around. I have a very high level of human hopefulness that gets destroyed each time I work on one of these products. Bug number 2 on the battery. Nah, there's no bug on the battery. You're making it up. You guys are bullshitters. Okay. So the charging problem was fixed by the bug. The bug took a poop on the CPU MOSFET, Okay, let's see what we get here. So I'm just plugging it in. All I've plugged in is the charger and the screen, nothing else, because I want to see what happens. So 500 milliamps, 538 milliamps, 486 milliamps, 588, 551. So that's jumping around a little bit, which tells me that there's maybe some minor hope. And then the hope went away. Oh, 474. Come on, give me a question mark. I want a question mark folder. Give me a question mark folder. Give me a question mark folder, you... yeah, this ain't going to give me a question mark. Not even close. Yeah, 19 milliamps. You know what may do it? An ultrasonic cleaning. I'm curious if an ultrasonic cleaning would do it, but I don't think the cleaner is warm right now. Okay, we'll do this one more. Because remember that what was by the CPU MOSFET looked like liquid. So I'm going to hope and pray that this actually is ultrasonicable. The problem is that the ultrasonic cleaner, it takes like an hour to heat up, and it would be really, really boring to just sit here for an hour. So let's see if the ultrasonic is hot, and of course it is not. So yeah, that's going to take like an hour to heat up. I wish I had a water boiler that I could put in there. I need to get a water boiler for these particular occasions. Plugged it in again. I adopted a pair of 8-week-old kittens today. Any suggestions for their names? Framework. I would name the kitty Framework. Okay, it's taking 470 milliamps, 490 milliamps, 483, 484, 485, 482, 485, 484, 485. I would name the kitty Framework. And it looks like this is not getting anywhere, unfortunately. This is kind of sad. Actually sad. Oh, whoa! Okay, question mark folder. So this is actually now turning on. So this is beautiful. So it looks like the reason that our S5 rails were pulsing is because our CPU MOSFET had corrosion on it. And remember, if the CPU is dead, then it's not going to tell every other rail in the computer to turn on. Now, the S5 rails should not be pulsing because the S5 rails are typically... I don't think they're turned on by the CPU in this one, but I'm just going to double check because I honestly have not been doing board repairs for a while at the store for a number of different reasons. I just kind of started doing them again because I can't for the life of me figure out how to get any of the people that work here to do them. So let's see. If the S5 rails are going to be turned on by 3v3 S5 enable, where does that come from? So that is going to come from here. This is no, okay, PM, EN, P3V3, S5. Okay, so that's R7662, pin 1. That is going to come from here, which I think is going to come from the PMIC. Here we go. So it's going to come from here. PMIC enable P3V3, S5. So that's a strange one, because that comes from the PMIC. That is a strange one. Let's see. Does the PMIC in communication with the CPU and demanding that the CPU or the PCH do something before this happens? Yes, it is. PM sleep S5L. PM sleep S5L. Okay, where does PM sleep S5L come from on this? PM sleep S5L comes from the PCH section of the CPU. Well, there you go. So if your CPU is messed up, PM sleep S5L is probably going to be pulsing. PM sleep S5L pulsing because of CPU may be what is causing the rest to not work, and that would explain it. So the charging issue appears to be it was not charging initially because it was scared of the bug that was in the device, and then this was going on because of the issue with the corrosion on the CPU MOSFET. If you want to know why it is that I replace both the CPU MOSFET as well as the buck converter controller chip in one piece, there are several videos in this channel where I go over CPU V-core buck converters. You can also watch the video that I did just 2 days ago. I went over this with what happens. The TLDR is the chip that's corroded could wind up dying. When that dies, it can kill the chip controlling it. when the chip controlling it dies, even if I put a new MOSFET there, that could cause the MOSFET to stay on all the time, not only killing the CPU, but also killing that particular MOSFET. Because this board is doing funny things where sometimes things work and sometimes they don't, this is going to be going through the ultrasonic cleaner because there's probably a sheen of some sort of liquid. Even though I cleaned up the part with obvious corrosion, there could be some sort of stickiness under the CPU. Anytime I see some stickiness like what I see over here, I am very, very wary. Even though this is not corrosion, what this means is there's probably some sort of sticky shit that got under the CPU. And this type of sticky stuff can cause capacitive crosstalk between solder balls so that one signal starts slowly leaking over to another, and it can cause all sorts of weirdness that it's almost impossible to diagnose and say exactly what's causing it. But the ultrasonic cleaner, I have a bunch of instructions over here, by the way, on repair.wiki. So if you check out repair.wiki, you'll see that I have a list of best practices for cleaning a motherboard using an ultrasonic cleaner, since a lot of new repair shops tend to do this improperly, or they use Windex or put the temperature too high. There's really a best practice for cleaning MacBook motherboards over here that we go over to make sure that they work. What I would do in this case when you have that kind of sticky stuff is I may raise the temperature maybe 5 or 7 Celsius over what the normal is. I'll still keep it in there for the same amount of time, but I just may raise the temperature maybe up to 70 Celsius and keep it in there for the same amount of time just because I want all of that kind of sticky stuff out of there. And what helps with getting rid of the sticky stuff is upping the temperature a little bit in my experience. And after that, we would clean out the dust and everything inside the machine, test it out, make sure everything's working, and at that point, give it back to a happy customer. So that's it for... This is gross. Okay, you guys are right. You were right. I was wrong. Bugs. You're right. You're right. I apologize. I called you all liars. There was indeed another fucking bug over there. Oh, that's just gross, man. How many fucking bugs are in this computer? Time to take this thing off my desk. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now. Oh, man. What is that little fucking bug? What type of bug is that? Does anybody know? We have an entomologist in the chat? Oh, that's so fucking gross. Disgusting. I got 194 viewers on Twitch. How's everybody out there in the Twitch chat? Wow, I'm up to 27,000 followers on Twitch. That's not bad. 27,000. That's really not bad at all. Sometimes I wonder if I should focus more on Twitch. Sometimes I wonder if that would be a good idea. A good investment. Are you still moving that shop somewhere else or opening another one in a different state? I don't know. I got to figure that out, man. I got a lot to figure out. There were certain things in my life that were fucking me up that I think I've sorted recently, and now I'm going to be doing this trip to Massachusetts. After that, I would like to do a trip around the country to figure out where it may make sense to move. I don't know if I'm going to keep a business here. Who knows? Will I keep it here? Will I move it? Will I open another one? Will I just let this one run itself until it runs itself into the ground and then have another person, let's say someone else, manage this location? These are all excellent questions, and they're going to depend on what's available in other areas, what other area of the country that I like, what my current landlord says, because if my current landlord is not, if my current landlord's willing to work with me a little bit, then fine. If the current landlord is just, straight up, no, we're not working with you on back rent, you got to pay $12,500 a month, that's it, that's what then, at that point it's going to be, and have fun going through the court system for the next 7 years, because I think that's about how far the court system is backed up at this point. I'll leave, and if you want my back rent, then we wish you the best of luck in getting 12.5K or 13K. I think it's actually up to 13K now. I wish you the best of luck in getting 13K for this place from another tenant instead of what I offered you, and I wish you the best. Yeah, I'll see you in court in 2029. I'll see you in court in 2029, because I believe the lease I signed, it has a shell company that the forward rent would be owed to, so I could leave this 10-year lease. I wouldn't owe shit on the rest of it. But anything that was not paid up to the point that I do that would be owed by me personally, and that sucks. So I believe at this point it's like $92,000. We taught a few classes recently, so I threw the class revenue into that. So I think now it's down to like 82 or 83,000. But yeah, I mean, if they're not open to working with me on it, then at that point it would just be this place would be done. Because I mean, there's more traffic in the city right now than there was before, but it's still not. It's not worth 100. It's not worth 12K, 12 or 13K. I mean, I'll give them their back rent. Like I will happily pay the back rent when court opens up in 2028. Hopefully there's no bug on the desk. I'm actually kind of afraid to keep my food on there, so I'm going to eat standing up. The thing is, commercial real estate court was backed up. Commercial real estate court was backed up for 6 months to a year and a half pre-COVID. At this point, there was some jackass that I wound up suing, and to get the papers, it took about 16 or 17 months. Just to get papers. I mean, for me to get the paperwork for my suit. So if they were to sue me for the back rent, which would definitely happen because they have the right to it, I would do that. That they would, with the amount of businesses that have that same problem. Court date 2027. I'd probably give them like $1,000 a month over the next 5 years. Vladimir says lag. Contact Restream and Susan Wojcicki. If you contact Restream and you contact Susan Wojcicki, I'm confident they'll work together to fix what it is that caused them to not work. I don't understand that question, Mirror. Wes says free workshop today. No free workshop today. Were those bed bugs or a different type of bug? How do you tell them? What percent of your business is mail-in? Right now, about 55%. 55. What are you eating? Brown rice and lentils with tomato and garlic. Is the cookie fund closed? I don't... Don't know how to answer that one. Aaron, the road trip's going to be next week. The Massachusetts trip is next week. The road trip around the country is going to be as soon as I finish that one. Once I'm done with the Massachusetts trip, I'd like to do a general road trip. It's just going to be a question of whether Erica wants to come with. Hope she does. Time to just create a small sweatshop shed and do everything as a mail order. Steve had a good point, which is we spend 13 years building up a reputation in New York City. And when you Google MacBook repair in New York City, on Google Maps, we're the best rated. Like, by far. It's not even close. All right, let's just take a look here. I'll show you. So Google Maps, MacBook repair. Like, it's not even close. Like, look at this. Let me just make sure I don't have another window. Yeah, this window. Look at this. Okay, so this guy shows up because he's cheating. This guy cheats. Google, for everything Google says about how they don't let people cheat SEO, this guy named his business. His business is a search term, and he's at the top. So whatever they say about Google being really smart and being able to detect spam, that's all bullshit, because you could literally label your business a keyword, and Google's too fucking dumb to tell. But right after, 131 reviews, 4.5 star. 4.9 stars, 1,380 reviews. Tektronix, this guy is good. I actually know the guy who runs this. 4.7, 226. Repair My Mac NYC, 3.6 stars, 8 reviews. Sunny, 4.8, 0.1 stars less than me, less than 150 reviews. Appleberry, 4.8 stars, 163 reviews. New York Computer Help, again, 299, 4.6. This guy, MacBook Repair Shop NYC, only 5 reviews. Better rated, but only 5 reviews. You could scroll on all day. The best rated place in the city, objectively speaking, is mine. So Steve's point was, it's one thing if you want to leave, but to not have any presence in the city, it seems like we would be wasting a reputation that took 13 years to build. But that would still require like moving to a smaller shop, and nobody here is being sane when it comes to real estate. They're really not. Okay, if that was a bed bug nymph, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put that computer in a garbage bag. Yep, that machine's going inside of a garbage bag. Fuck that. Not infecting my office with that shit. Probably already did. The thing's been sitting in the slot for a while. Do you know we have small garbage bags? Yeah. There's a computer that has bed bugs in it.
Oh yeah, I want here.
I don't want those bed bugs. I want them out of here. Oh, it was right in front of me. I'm dumb. I thought they were the white bags. Thank you very much. What do you think the chances are that he's already found his way out of the machine?
Very highly.
Fuck. I hope he's still hiding under the battery or something. All right. Computer. Yoink. Just tie up this fucking bag. I'm sorry, Paul. Gross. Okay, disgusting. Yeah, so one of the things that Steve was saying is that you spent this much time building a reputation here to leave would kind of be a waste. Then again, what you can do is you can take this Google page here, and I could just change the address. If I go anywhere else, like let's say Jacksonville, Florida or something. Okay, let's go to Jacksonville, Florida, right? If you look at all the places that do this type of work in Jacksonville, You Break, I Fix, 811 reviews, but still 4.6, not 4.9. Cheap MacBook repair, 6 reviews. Affordable computer repair, Jax, 4.7 stars, 250. Like, I have the best ratings by far. If I move anywhere else and I take that Google listing anywhere else, I would just own that area in business. But it still is. But I still would feel like I'm kind of wasting it. Like, one of the things Steve said is, do you really want to leave New York and let all the other shitty repair shops that are here, get all the business that you work for? And, I see his point. But I don't know where, everybody is still crazy with real estate. Like, when I go to places that are the size of my office, they still want $8,000 for places that are just the size of my office. So it winds up being circular thinking. It would be a shame to not have at least a small presence here. But where would you get a small presence here? Everybody wants 8,000, 9,000, 15,000. Is it possible to pair up with an existing non-Mac repair shop and have them send you the Macs? I discourage that. I actually discourage wholesale business. I can't stand wholesale business. Because you're not speaking to the person directly. You're speaking to a person that is then speaking to a customer. So it's like playing a game of telephone. Also, they're middlemen, so they have to add their own service charge on. And then they have to constantly tell their customer what the upcharge is. And it's just a pain in the ass. I'd rather deal with the customer directly. I honestly don't even want wholesale business. Like, people will call and email. It's about, what are your wholesale discounts for us? It's like, I honestly don't even want it. I'd rather focus on retail customers. It's far easier to deal with. It's actually less pain in the ass. And it's no discount. So I honestly don't even want to deal with the wholesale stuff. It would be worth it if you had one person that said, we'll send you 200 MacBooks a month. But that's never what it is. Like, wholesale discount means I'm a repair shop and I want to send you 1 or 2 repairs a month. It's like, that doesn't wind up being worth it. I'd rather just get the business at a retail level. So rather than a PC repair shop send me their Mac repairs, I'd rather just be the person that repair shop that is getting those Mac repairs. And if they want to do them, then by all means do them. But if they're not doing them, then then you know, I'll try to get them as a retail customer first. Okay. Have you going to talk to University School Ect? We used to deal with some schools, but a lot of them actually got an in-house department where they do their own MacBook repair, so they stopped sending us stuff. Shame you can't get with one of the insurance companies who accidental Mac insurance like Allstate or SquareTrade. Allstate, I believe, purchased CPR. Wait, did Allstate purchase CPR, iCracked, or YouBreak iFix? I don't even remember. Allstate purchased iCracked, so they're probably going to have their own in-house for that, I imagine. Horrible in-house, but probably in-house. Okay, next. What do we got here? Are you working on Saturday? Yes, I am. H17 MacBook. I would be interested in wholesale if it were actually worthwhile, but the thing is, people who have that type of volume are going to find the dude that does it for $90 on eBay, and, you know, they're going to want every board repair to be $90. And, like, fuck that. I guess you could find a way to make... Nah, I actually don't even think I could make that worth it. Like, they're going to want everything to be dirt cheap. Damn, Lewis, something is wrong here. I see viewers who watched your YouTube videos some 10 years ago. Huh? I don't get it. Okay, next. What do we have here? It's okay, be right back. I'll give you a nice space in the back of my 17-year-old computer repair shop for free, just for the added personality. Where is your computer repair shop, Carl Cranny? Where is it located? And thank you very much for the $5 US. Huh. Have you heard of Strong Cities? It's about city planning in the States and urban sprawl in the U.S. Are you part of New York City problem? I've heard of it, but I did not research it after hearing about it a long time ago. Let me get this computer, and then we'll continue. Slot H17. Mac of the book. Book of the Mac. Mac of book. Sorry for that noise. That was horrible. I have a kitty cat. My kitty cat's name is Mr. Clinton, and he goes meow meow, meow meow, meow meow. Kitty cat, kitty go meow meow, kitty go meow. Psh, 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 psh. Kitty goes meow meow, meow meow. Kitty goes meow. mu, mu, mu COVID, delta COVID, alpha COVID, lambda COVID. Hey everybody, how's it going? So today we're going to be going over an A1398 MacBook that appears to not be turning on. The first thing that we do anytime we work on any one of these machines that has no power is that we try to get its pulse by unplugging the battery, plugging in our charger, and seeing how much power the machine is taking. So what I've done here is I've hooked up my MagSafe power adapter to a power supply, and that power supply is going to assist me in telling how much amperage the device is taking. Now, luckily, we have Paul Daniels' software, which is going to allow me to connect a multimeter to this as well, so we can make some measurements. I was very close to giving Paul Daniels credit for the power supply software, which he did not make. That was, I believe, from Circuit Specialists, and it's pretty cool stuff over here. Now, as you can see, we're stuck at 266 milliamps. Now, one thing that is really, really helpful if you are privy to it is if you go to the repair wiki over here, what you can do is you can actually find a repair guide for this particular year and model. This board over here is an 820-00138, but it's very similar to the 00163 and 00426. So you click over here, and when the board is taking 250 milliamps, that tends to mean that there is a short to ground on PP bus G3 hot. Now, unfortunately, that is not listed here, so I got to edit this entry to say that. Actually, never mind. It says taking 0.2 amps over here. But no. Yeah, I got to add that, 268 milliamps. So that typically tends to mean PP bus G3 hot is shorted to ground. So what I'd like to do is actually measure and see if that's the case. Also, when PP bus G3 hot is shorted to ground on this device, it tends to be a dead CPU MOSFET, and the dead CPU MOSFET tends to result in a dead CPU, which I'm very much so hoping is not the case here, as it is very, very, very often with this machine, almost to the point that we don't actually even bother taking it out of the case. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to put Paul Daniels' multimeter software here on the screen, and we are going to see if the multimeter software works. Let's see if it works. Not responding. Ahem. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. Good multimeter software. Good Australian software. So I'm going to measure PP bus G3 hot because that tends to be what is shorted to ground when it's taking 200 milliamps. And what do you know? 0.2 volts. 0.2 volts. Now let's see. Spidey Sense says that PP bus is shorted to ground. Joy. And now we're going to do one more measurement that's going to confirm that I'm most likely wasting my time on this computer, which is measuring the resistance between PP bus and CPU coil. 19 ohms. Okay, there's a chance. 19 ohms. Okay, there's a fighting chance. Okay, here we're good. So what I'm doing is this is shorted to ground, right? PP bus is shorted to ground, 0.5 ohms. I wanted to see if the CPU was shorted to PP bus because oftentimes, as I went over in a video 2 days ago with CPU health, which I'll try to remember to link down below, but if I don't, hopefully one of you in the comments will remember to do it, and I'll pin it as a comment later, is I want to see if the CPU MOSFETs over here are shorting PP bus directly to the CPU or to ground through the CPU. And that's a common issue. And if that happens most of the time when you know that happened, it's a complete waste of time to work on the device because if the CPU got punched in the face with 12 volts, everything's going to be dead. Now on this board, what I'm happy to see is that it doesn't seem like the CPU is got 12 volts because the resistance between the CPU V-core coil and PP bus is 20 ohms. Not what I'd like to see, but better than 0.5 or 1 ohm or 2 ohm, which is often the case. JK Computer Services in your favorite city, San Diego. I remember you, Carl. I remember JK Computer Services. I think you've bought stuff from us before. I remember seeing your name on a shipping label for some reason. Okay. I've had 2 of these last week with dead CPUs, so yes, I feel the pain. Well, anytime our Australian brother feels the pain, I share it. Last thing I'd want is for Paul Daniels to have pain. Or feel pain. Alrighty. Take the board out of the case. Are we all excited? Everybody here excited today? We got a board to fix. Wait, Lewis, you hate San Diego. I don't hate San Diego. I hate the price of the real estate in San Diego. I visited San Diego a few times. It's not bad. It's just, it's like the area that I live in right now, where kind of got to be rich. I am not as rich as most people think that I am. One of the things that's made me feel depressed is when many people will comment saying, I can't believe someone donated to this millionaire or this millionaire that does this, that, and the other. Being a millionaire is not an insult. The insult, I think, is in the fact that people think that I'm a millionaire because someone who runs a business of this size for as long as I have and someone who has as many followers as I have, I think the insult is in, if you're not a millionaire with the opportunities that have been presented to you, then you are an idiot or a fool. Which is an interpretation that I often take from that assumption and that comment, and sometimes it messes with my confidence. That I don't want to live someplace where a middle class house is like 800 or 900K. I'm just not interested in that. Someday, if circumstances change, then I wouldn't really care. But I don't want to live someplace where like an average ass house is 800K. It's just not appealing to me. It's not appealing to me. What are your thoughts on Sennheiser headphones? They make some nice headphones. I have the crappy set, the HD 280s. I don't have any of the nice ones at home. San Diego does have nice climate. It really does. They also have a very large homeless problem. The last time I visited San Diego was 2016, though. December of 2016. I went to a restaurant on Christmas, and I got a bunch of food. I spent like $35 in this truffled gnocchi dish. It was really beautiful tasting. It was amazing. I had just eaten too much, so I hadn't even opened this particular dish, even though it looked really good. And there was a guy that was asking for food outside. He was I, being an idiot, actually thought he wanted food. So I said, here, have this. And he opens the bag. He looks at it, and he takes it, and he fucking throws it at me. Like he threw a $35 dish of food that I could have taken back to the hotel and eaten the next day, right at me. It's like, if I wanted that shit, I could just stay in New York. If I wanted to live someplace where like a home is that fucking expensive and deal with that shit, I have that right here. It's like, you're making me homesick. So San Diego did look nice, but it has its issues. Okay, let's get this board out of the case. If this one has a bug on it too, I will lose my mind. Okay, we're going to take the board and put it on the desk, and we're going to take everything else and put it aside so that we could focus just on the motherboard. So I'm going to take all of this stuff, and I'm going to put it somewhere else so that we can focus on the task at hand, which is the motherboard, and not everything else that's in the case. Paul had me a nice tour of your shop last November when I was visiting with my daughter. At least San Diego has a lovely ocean to swim in. Yeah, you do have an ocean to swim in that's nicer, and the beach there is nicer than like Coney Island Beach. It's a considerable upgrade. Okay, so PP342 has to be present because you get a light in the charger. You need PP342 to be present to get a light in the charger because you need PP342 underscore G3 hot to be present in order for the SMC to turn on, which speaks to the charger, which turns the light on. And you also need PP342 underscore G3 hot to be present in order for the one-wire circuit to allow the charger to speak to the SMC rather than to cock block the communication. So that means that we do have that power rail, and we also have PPDCIN G3 hot coming through, but it doesn't look like we have PP bus G3 hot. So let's open up a schematic and a board view for this particular board and see if we can figure out what's going on and what's wrong with it. I think this may be the board where I don't actually have the schematic and board view for it, but I have someone. Yeah, this is a scam. So it looks like whoever was selling this board view as the one for this board is scamming people. This is the 3787 board view, and they're selling it as for this machine, which is really, really, really lame. Let's extract another one. Maybe I think this one may be it. Let's see if this is it. Nope, same shit. See the tiny square trackpad connector over here? That square trackpad connector does not match the rectangular one on this board. So everybody selling the 820000138 board view, I've noticed, was selling a fake, a fraud. So we're going to open up a board view that's similar. This is not the same one. This is the board view for a board that has a GPU on it. This one obviously does not have a GPU on it, but a lot of the rest of it is the same, and this is what I have to work with. Lewis, you can find excuses not to move. It's not an excuse not to move. It's a reason to not move to fucking California. It is not an excuse to not move to say, I don't want to live in California. Not want to live in California means I don't want to spend $1 million in a house where when I walk outside, you deal with all the same crap that you deal with in New York and get taxed up the ass for the privilege of the experience. Like, no. There's a lot of the country that you can move to that's not New York. Saying that is an excuse to not leave New York is ridiculous. You have 48 other states to explore that are not California, and I am more than happy to explore those 48 states that are not California. Again, like the housing prices there are just no. It's just like just no. I have no desire to go to California. It has all of the same problems that New York does with mildly nicer weather. Just no. Okay, so go through here. And we are going to go down the list, and we are going to try and figure out what may be causing PP bus G3 hot to be 0.2 volts instead of what we expect it to be, which is 12.6 volts. So first thing I'm going to do is just measure each side of the fuse over here. Each side of the fuse, we got, 1.2 volts here, 0.6 volts here. All right, we got that short to ground. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove both fuses because I want to see which side is that short on. So I want to see if the short to ground is on the side that is responsible for creating PP bus G3 hot, or is it on the side that is responsible for taking the power that's created. So let's just take a look at this. So you put the schematic on the screen, and over here, so see it has this two system. So you have two system. So the short could be over here, or the short could be over here where it's taking 18 volts and turning it into 12.56 volts. Now, I don't know which side the short is on. So what I'm going to remove these fuses. Then I'm going to measure. Is my short here? Is my short here? Is my short here? One way to find out. So what I'm going to do before I do any real digging into the short detection or injecting power on the board is I want to see where that is. So I'm going to remove that fuse, which is kind of like the drawbridge here. Realistically, what is your timeline for leaving New York? I do not have a timeline, because when you have a timeline that you create for yourself, now you're forced to stick to it regardless of circumstances or your situation. So I am not holding myself to a timeline. I have no need to hold myself to a timeline. Okay, we're going to get those fuses out of here. Almost there. All right, so I've taken the fuses, and I will put them aside over here for use later. Now, which side is the short on? We're going to put this back in ohms mode, and we're going to measure on the left side. And the left side is going to be the side that creates PP-G3 hot. Is the short there? No. Battery side? No. Creation side? 0. 0. Okay, so it's going to be on the side that's responsible for creating PP-G3 hot. Now, just in case it is a MOSFET that's sending power to the CPU, which I doubt it is because we have 20 ohms between the MOSFET and between the MOSFET for the CPU and PP-G3 hot, but just in case it is, so I can feel it. I'm not going to feel any heat. If I have the heatsink on the CPU, we're going to take the heatsink off of the CPU. Would you say that Mac repair is simpler than iPhones or iPads? That's too generic a question. Are you talking about screen repair on an iPhone? Or are you talking about component, like, data recovery based doing trace damage on an iPhone? It's too general a question to be able to answer. Will anything change with the right to repair bill Biden signed? Biden did not sign a right to repair bill. That is a common misconception. He had an executive order asking the FTC to create rules. That is not a bill. That is not a law. That is literally him saying, you guys should do something about this. So what Biden did is he signed an executive order that said, you guys should do something about this. What did they do? Will they do anything? We wait and see. But no, Biden has not signed a right to repair bill. It's a start, and I'm happy to get that start. I'm happy that Biden signed that. If that winds up actually becoming something, if that actually turns into something that's useful, you might even catch me calling him names like Based Biden. But we'll see. I have very, very, very steep doubts that politicians will ever actually do something that is helpful for the American citizen or consumer. I tend to be cynical, but we'll see. We will see. I will do everything that I can to speed this process along. I assure you, we are doing a lot to try and speed this process along and make sure that this opportunity is not wasted. They have asked the FTC to create rules. I'm going to be a thorn in the FTC side for a long time. I shouldn't say thorn. What I'd like to do is I would like to provide them with all the information that they need so that they have an idea what the rules are that they should be making. I would like to do, they have a lot of shit that they got to deal with. But the FTC has a lot of stuff they have to deal with, so I want to try and make it easy for them by saying, oh, okay, by the way, here are the rules that are being broken in antitrust law. Here's how they're usually remedied. Here's a set of ways that you could fix these particular things so that they don't have to write it all themselves. I kind of want to have as much as humanly possible laid out ahead of time, if that makes any sense. Okay, so I'm going to turn my power supply down to 1 volt, and we are going to inject voltage into this board. Average home in Oklahoma is $300K and storefronts an average of $12 a square foot. Also has right to repair presented in the state senate. Okay, Oklahoma may be a place to check out. Oklahoma was never on my list, but we'll see. So, all right, so at 1 volt, we're taking 5 amps. So something is going to be getting really, really hot here. So I'm going to lower the voltage a little bit to 0.7 volts. Turn it on. Okay, so something's using 3 amps. So we're going to do an OWI test. Is anybody familiar with what the OWI test is? So what we're doing is we're injecting voltage into the board so that we can figure out what gets hot. So whatever it is that is getting hot is going to be whatever it is that's shorting our power rail to ground, whatever that is going to be taking all of that energy and sending it to ground, which means it's going to get really hot. So what I want to do is I want to shove some voltage into PP-G3 hot and see what it is that gets hot. So I have the power supplies positive going to PP-G3 hot, the power supplies ground going to the ground of the board. Now whatever it is that is shorting PP-Bus to ground is going to get warm. And if it's the CPU, I am going to be epically fucking pissed. OWI test, indeed. And I believe we found it. And I didn't even find it with an OWI test, I found it with my eyes. I'm honestly very embarrassed that I wasn't able to see this immediately, because this is the kind of thing that I would criticize the chat for not seeing immediately. But this is something that could have and should have been found on visual inspection. There is no reason for me to have to have removed those 2 fuses or run any power through the board to see that this is the cause of our problem. This is something that you would not need a microscope for. This is something that I should have seen the moment that I took the bottom case off of the device, and it's kind of shameful that I didn't. This capacitor here has a giant crack on the top of it. This is bad, and yeah, look at that. That's no good. Now, let's see, I could put more power through it. Make it get a little warmer, turn colors. And if, you know, I'm not going to do an owie test right now because I don't want to go, oh. But if I were to put some alcohol in there, as you can see, ouch. Have you heard of Australia's surveillance legislation amendment identifying disrupt bill? Next rant video idea. I've heard about it, but I would have to read a lot into it to really be able to get into what my thoughts are on it. So I haven't done something on that yet. But doing the very, very basic cursory research that I did, that bill scares the piss out of me because I don't want that to be the basis for them getting, you know, more frisky on the Patriot Act here in the USA. Okay, we're going to replace that capacitor. You're going to replace that cap over there. And let's put my fuses back on. Motherfucker. Let's try that again. Go. Go, fuse. It's your birthday. What's the main reason people watch your YouTube now? I get interested in past but love your ramblings. I have no idea. I seriously have no idea why anybody watches anything I produce. No idea. Now this is really difficult because you have the PCH right next to this, and I'm going to need a lot of heat to remove this, but I have this chip next to it. And I'm going to want to limit the amount of heat that I apply to it. So I'm going to try to pry this cap off of the board using a soldering iron. Now obviously I don't have to care if I'm nice to this capacitor because it's already broken and destroyed. Bye-bye. See how that works? Easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. Easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. Excuse me. So many weird little pieces of dirt on the board. Come on. This board has a lot of thermal mass over here. Like you notice that my iron is really struggling to melt the solder on that pad. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find something that's metal, like let's say this box cutter over here, and I'm going to put it over the PCH chip that's right next to the capacitor, because I don't want to heat my PCH, which is my platform controller hub, a BGA chip. I don't want to heat that so close while I'm working on this capacitor. So that's going to be like my heat sink. It's going to grab most of my heat if that's going on top of there, so it doesn't go on this area where my cap is that I'm soldering. I'm going to grab my donor board. A hot tweezer does not have the thermal mass for this area. At least not the ones that we use, Sonny. I do not ship to Europe, Katsiko. I turned off international shipping a while ago. They lose too many packages. This is also a really weird area because you have the SSD connector over there, you have the speaker connector, you have all sorts of things that are going to melt as you're hot airing this in. And as you can see, my speaker connector has not melted at all, nor has my SSD connector. None of the plastic is melted, even the tiniest bit. And the way you do that is you are very, very slow. Very, very slow with preheating the board so that you don't need to have as much heat directly on there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cool it off using Rapid Cool technology. So Rapid Cool technology is Rossmann Group patent pending. And after the Rapid Cool, we're going to turn it on, and you're going to see that the fan spins, which is how we know that it's done. Okay, power supply software, set it back to 18 volts. Output on. It's weird that when you have the output set to off on the power supply, it thinks it's taking 5 amps even if it's not. Okay, now it just stopped doing that. That's weird. I'm planning on donating. Should I donate to C3 or C4? I want to go to where you think it will help most. Salem, at this point, honestly, C3 is highly restrictive. With like, I have more C3 money than I know what to do with. It's just the C3 is highly restrictive. But the C3 gets you a tax write-off. So I would say C4 is where the fun is at. And thank you very much, and I hope to see you next week. By the way, as you can see, we have fan spin over here, which means we're done. So, yep, that is that. So we had a short circuit to ground on PP-Bus G3 Hot. And 99% of the time on this particular model motherboard, the short to ground on PP-Bus G3 Hot is through the CPU MOSFET that also sends 12 volts over to the CPU. We measured the resistance between the CPU coil and PP-Bus G3 Hot, and it was 20 ohms, which gave us hope that it was something else. Now, it's really, really embarrassing that I missed that cap. I usually have the type of sight where over somebody's shoulder, I can see a corroded pin on a chip. So to miss a cap that was cracked, and to spend so much time looking around the board to actually remove the fuses and do all of that, is fairly embarrassing. I would consider that a fail by my judgment, because this should have been a board that was instantly fixable. This board should have taken less than 90 seconds to diagnose and fully repair. So this is fixed, but I still consider that a fail. That's a little too slow, and my eyes should have caught that, and I hope that your eyes have been trained to catch that as a result of watching me fail through this video. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now. Does the anti-right to repair take... What Lenovo laptop do you recommend around $2,000? They have a new P series with a keyboard that's not off-center. So most of the Lenovo ThinkPads, the P series, they're behind. A lot of them are behind, and they're using older chipsets and older shit. But there's one recently that doesn't suck. Where is that one? Let's find it together. Okay, where's the P series? How do I get to P series? Featured ThinkPads. The fuck did you do to your website? By brand, ThinkPad. View P series. Here we go. So is it the P15? Is it P1? I don't remember. Why do you have so many different fucking models? This is annoying. Ah, the 16-inch one. Here we go. I think it's the P1. P1 Gen 4, P15 Gen 2, P1 Gen 2. Like, my God, like these people suck at branding. You suck at branding, Lenovo. It should not be this hard to find something. All right, so I think it's this one. So what is the... let's take a look at what it is you get with regard... Okay, so this one you get a 3840 by 2400 screen. So it's not fully 16.9. Watched all your reviews that I could find on hot air stations and solder stations. Thank you. Should be having a sale on hot air stations soon. So look at the CPU benchmark for this. That's not bad. 21,000, that's not a bad score. And if you wanted to spend like crazy, you could even get this one, which probably doesn't do much better. The problem is they don't offer Ryzen offerings. I really wish they did, because the Ryzen offerings are more competitive by a long shot. Look at this. Like, you get an Intel CPU that's slightly fat. Like, it costs way more money, but you go up 5 points in CPU benchmark. Like, get out of here. If you want, I think you can keep going. Let's see. Actually, no, it doesn't. All of them use A850. I'd probably get this one, the P1. So there's a few reasons. The first is that this does not have a numpad. Numpads on laptops are evil, and the people that advocate for them are also evil, and they should be destroyed. There's something that goes in your lap should not have an off-center keyboard. That's just fucking wrong. If you're no, this having an off-center keyboard, the idea of it makes me sick. I can't click to see the rest of them. Come on. P1. All right, fine. Let's look up here. Yeah, so the keyboard is not off-center, which is very important. And it has a fairly powerful processor. It looks like it's pretty thin. There's no point to a numpad on a laptop. Like, I'll type numbers faster than you using the keyboard, using the top row of my keyboard. The laptops are the people. Both. Both. In the same pit of fire. You toss the laptops with numpads and the keyboard, and the people who created and advocated for them. They go into the same pit of fire. For that price, that is shit. It's the best that you're going to get from Lenovo, though. Let's see, what do you get? For that price, you get a NVIDIA Ti 1200. That's, I don't know anything about graphics cards anymore. You get a close to 4K screen, IPS, fingerprint reader. I don't give a shit about a fingerprint reader. 512 gigabyte SSD. I wish I could downgrade that and buy my own SSD. I don't trust them to give me a good deal on it. Memory, 16 gigs. Yeah, for $2,000, that kind of is shit. It's only good if you're buying them for the durability. And what I like about the Lenovo's is the durability of them. Close to 4K lol. Yeah, close to 4K. Wait a second. Oh shit, you have to... Wait a second. Okay, so the $2,000 one has a 3840 by 2400 screen. The $2,600 one has a 2560 by 1600 screen. What the fuck? Wait a second. You pay more money and they fucking downgrade you. What a pile of cunts. Okay, look at this. The $2,000 one. Look, as you move up the line, you would assume that all the specs go up. Some of them go up and the other ones go down. Oh, bro. Bruh. I guess that's because... You get a better graphics card and a better CPU, but they downgrade you on the screen. Res isn't all. Yeah, but like, why would you downgrade as the price goes up? What the Oh my Jesus. The sad thing is, if you go to the one that's $4,699, the best CPU that you could get is this. Ryzen, you do way better for way cheaper. Like, look, it doesn't matter how expensive you go, you're not going to get much more. Dell doesn't have the track point though. Dell needs a track point, and they also don't have really good liquid resistance. I want my liquid resistance. If I'm going to be paying a giant premium for the device, I want it to be drop proof, liquid resistant, and have a track point. My framework doesn't have a track point, but that's different. I love my little framework. My framework, fixable computer from good company. Okay, so this machine. I forgive much on my framework because my framework is made by a company that cares about right to repair. I love my framework until I'm given a reason otherwise to not love my little framework. But so far, I pet my framework. I'd say, good little framework. Good little framework. I pet it. I encourage it. I speak to my little framework from time to time. I'll talk to it. I'll give it a bedtime story. D17. Yeah, higher refresh rate is useless to me. Anything over 60 hertz, I can't even tell. Okay, well, what slot was this in? This was in slot D17. Time to get the next computer. Hello, Catherine. Thank you very much for that document you made. You may want to rewind the stream to the beginning. I kicked it off by praising you and Jesse Cruz. Okay, we're just going to clean the desk before we get to the next MacBook. Nyan Cat. Okay. What are you, my mom, Mets Rock Gaming? You're not my mom. Go away. Hey, everybody. How's it going? So today we're going to be working on a MacBook Air that appears to not be turning on. The first thing that we do anytime we have a MacBook that's not turning on, to try and ascertain what's going on with the machine, is we unplug the battery and then plug in the charger so that we can get an idea of how much power the board is taking by itself. This is going to help us in our troubleshooting process. So I'm going to plug this in. We are going to turn on the power supply and put it on the screen so that you can see it. Now, as you can see, we're getting a green light, and as you can see, it's turning on. With a magnet on the fan. It kind of looks weird. Very weird, actually. But okay, it chimes. Let me just get that magnet out for the fan. And this looks like it already turns on and works. Which means that I've been trolled by whoever took this in and wrote in the description that it doesn't turn on. Okay, now it's not turning on. Huh? Okay, this is strange. You're not taking anything at all? Really? Try that again. It just turned on and worked, and then it died. Is PP3V42 present? Oh, Paul's multimeter software is being a troll. Why are you in ohms mode? Get out of here. Show me voltage, you... Come on, you troll software. There we go. A cup of tea. Sure, a cup of tea, but whatever that word is after it, I have no idea. So we have 2.2 volts on PP3V42. That doesn't make any sense. Input to PP3V42 is 17 volts. PP3V42 output is too low. 2.13 volts makes no sense. So this turned on, then turned off, and PP3V42 is 2. PP bus is, of course, not going to be there properly if PP3V42 is 2. Huh. We're getting input. We're getting a 17 volts into PP3V42. Okay, I'm going to take the board out of the case, and we're going to just take a look at this and try and figure out what's going on with it. Nothing's getting hot. MacBook after MacBook after MacBook after MacBook after MacBook after MacBook after... Missing screw! Okay, we got to make a note to give this gentleman a screw. We always try to screw our customers. But yeah, there's a missing screw over there. That's triggering me. Put the magnet back. Maybe that was what was wrong with it. Maybe that was what was killing it. The magnet not being there. Okay. Also, the wrong screw is over here. You have a long screw in the short hole. No. Who put the long screw in the short hole? Bruh. Why you do that? Why you doing that? Very often, Wes, unfortunately. I can see the damage from here. Wonder if you guys can. I'm not getting tricked like in that last cap video. Not getting tricked out of my eyesight being proper. So what we have here is an intermittent issue. Intermittent PP3V42 underscore G3 hot. I'm not going to go over why that's needed for the green light in this video because I've gone over this in millions of videos already. And if you're curious as to why you need PP3V42 underscore G3 hot to get a green light or what the one-wire circuit is, many videos you can check out that will answer that question. So when we take a look down here, yeah, you see that? Yeah, there's some touching in those pins over there by the PP342 underscore G3 hot chip. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a very minimal amount of flux, and we're going to reflow those joints so that they look beautiful again. Just a small amount of flux, tiny piece, barely noticeable. This MacBook doesn't look like it was from another... I don't know if this is from another repair shop. I'd have to look at the ticket. This was a walk-in from a normal dude that has a Gmail address. So I'm going to take a guess this is not another repair shop. Any of the dirt in there is going to wind up getting sucked up onto my iron or just burned away. So let me remove this little bubble over here where it's getting in the way. Of me being able to get to that last joint. Now obviously when it comes to cleaning, this board would get run through an ultrasonic cleaner afterwards, so any of that kind of junk that could be potentially shorting components nearby is going to be gone. But I really do like to kill two birds with one stone. And I can do that by making sure that these joints are perfect, getting rid of all the old junky solder, having some nice, sexy new lead-free solder on there. And after this, I imagine we will get a consistent 3 volts, 3.42 volts in our PP342. Now, this over here, where the shorting was, is right around where feedback is. Now, one of the things you may notice in the document that Catherine Hauserman in the chat was so kind as to help organize a little bit. I have a document in the chat that goes over... It goes over a bunch of basic things on basic electronics. Is that there's something called feedback where the chip is going to want to see what it is doing. So this chip is going to take 18 or 8 volts and turn it into 3.42. And it wants to see what it is that it's doing. So if I find a schematic in board view over here, let's just get this, there we go. Let's find the PP342 chip, U7090. Now this power supply over here is going to want to see what it's creating. So here you have 18 volts on input. See, this is the charger up here. This is the charger. The charger is going to go through here. This is the input. You have the choice of input. You have either the battery, PP bus G3 hot, or you have the charger down here, which is PP DC in. And that's going to go into this chip, which is then going to take that 18 volts or 8 volts and turn it into 3.42. Now, this is where it's making it. Over here on pin 4 and out, that's where it's making it. Pin 1 is called feedback. It's going to want to see what it is creating. So you have PP342. There's going to be a voltage divider here. It's going to send a small amount of it back to feedback. Now, if the feedback pin has too high a voltage, it's going to turn down the voltage it's creating. If the feedback pin has too low a voltage, it may turn up the voltage that it's creating. If you have a short between pins 1 and 2 because of some crud there, and crud can kill a MacBook Air. It may think that feedback is higher than it actually is because of the crud, and then it may lower the voltage that it's outputting to compensate for the fact that the feedback is very high. So now when we plug it in, as you see, we have a fan spinning. It's taking a healthy 500 to 700 milliamps, and PP3V42 is exactly what it is supposed to be. Beautiful, lovely, easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. And I'll give him a new fan. That fan sounds like dog shit. Don't know if that's because I kept a magnet on it when it was spinning or if because there was some pressure on it, but I'll give you a new fan. It's the least I can do. And I'll also have to give this one a new screw because whoever was in here before long screwed this on the fan. There was a long screw and there was a screw missing over here. So I'm guessing they lost this screw, but then they thought once they lost this screw, let me take the screw that goes there and put it here. Very bad. You can take the screw that goes here and put it there. You cannot take the screw that goes there and put it here. Very, very bad. So we're going to get the screws in that area put in properly. Also, since there was crud over here, you never know. There could be crud in other areas of the board that I can't see. So I would like this to get a nice, thorough ultrasonic cleaning in the ultrasonic cleaner. And once it's thoroughly ultrasonically cleaned, any other kind of mess that may have kept this from working properly will be gone. Because, again, there's the stuff that you could see, but there's also the stuff that you can't see. So under some of these BGA chips, so for instance, this chip has a bunch of balls under it that make contact. Here, a bunch of balls under it that make contact. Here, a bunch of balls under this that make contact. I need to be able to see what is under there, but I can't. So what I do is I assume if there's corrosion over here, that you never know, there may be some corrosion under there that I can't see. So I put it in the ultrasonic cleaner, and there's an instruction on the repair wiki over here, by the way, that I highly suggest you check out. It's freely available. This is all made available through the kindness of strangers. Is a way that you can ultrasonic it, or how you ultrasonic your board properly. This is on repair.wiki, and it's a guide on the side. We will put it through the ultrasonic cleaner just so that any other junk that may be on here, even if it's underneath a chip, will be gone. This board I would consider fixed. We would just want to put it through, again, the cleaning process and then also the quality assurance process, make sure everything else on it works. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now. Man, Paul gonna be pissed that I got this one. No, I am typing for real. I can beat you. You're a schmuck, Wong Wei. This is actual typing. I have to leave notes for every ticket. I wouldn't... Type racer me, bro. I'm gonna type racer you. I'm gonna smoke you. I wouldn't quarter for the fans. Numpad is superior to tracking num. Lie. Numpad is useless. It makes the ergonomics of the entire setup horrible. No, you don't get a cookie, says 15 fake account. No cookie. So I know my my. All right, that's going to be the end of today's stream. I hope you enjoyed it. It was fun working with you all, fun having you all here. We'll try to make time to do more of these in the future. For the next few weeks, I'm going to be doing some traveling. We're going to be going through Massachusetts. We're going to be visiting a lot of different repair shops in Massachusetts, trying to organize them for a lobbying day and also try to get them to work with their customers to tell them about why this is important and why they should email and call their representatives about a right to repair bill that's in that state. And I'm also going to try and get some footage that I can use that demonstrates just how it is right to repair has made the lives of the people who run these repair businesses better and how they're able to help their customers. That's going to be the focus of the next 1 to 2 weeks. Once that's completed, I'm going to be finishing up the details so that I can have free workshops at the Makerspace that I plan to be doing workshops here at. I'm going to be giving a grant to a Makerspace here so that we can do those workshops. After that, I'm going to be traveling around the country to hopefully find a place that I can call home that is not this wretched city, because as you guys may have understand, I'm not the biggest fan of New York, and I haven't made the time to do that. And I really would. There are many areas that I'd like to visit, I'd like to drive through, I'd like to spend a little bit of time in to get the feel of those areas. I haven't made time to do that. I haven't made a lot of time for myself over the past year and a half, and when I have had time for myself, I've wasted it on things that I shouldn't have wasted it on. I'm going to try to, I'm in my 30s, but I'm not dead, so I'm going to try to put some time into the things that matter to me. And we'll see how it goes streaming that stuff on here. I might stream the thoughts and comments and drives and all sorts of other random crap on this channel because this is the Random Live channel. And that's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.